look, and it was Marco and his waders who'd been fishing with his dick out pissing against the window. I send Damien Hirst a text and I said, listen, I'm opening the chicken and steak restaurant. Have you got any ideas? But all the chefs were on speed.
Yeah, right.
Which was an early form of cocaine.
Yeah.
And I ended up, after 11 months, I'd lost 800 grand.
Christ.
I think Ian Jury was eyeing up Omar Sharif's girlfriend. So all of a sudden, overnight, I'd lost 5 restaurants.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Go-To Food Podcast. We're joined by an absolute legend. I mean, this is brought to us by Blink, we should say that. But Mark Ernest Hix, OBE, you're basically the OG of the British gastronomy revolution.
MBE.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know you're an MBE. Oh, you MBE?
MBE.
What do you mean?
Did I say OBE? Sorry.
said OBE.
Sorry, I was getting carried away. The legend of the London restaurant scene. He's an award-winning author, food writer, 12 cookbooks his name, a titan of British cooking. I'm going to give you more. He rose to prominence at the Ivy, the Caprice and Scots, and went on to create his own acclaimed restaurants from Hix Oyster Fish House to the Tram Shed. Became a trusted voice through his long-running food writing for The Independent. And you took over from Simon Hopkinson. But few chefs have shaped the national conversation about British food as clearly or as consistently as this gorgeous man alongside me. You had a big night last night, though, didn't you? You were cooking with some shit. Go on.
We did. I had 2 protégés last night. So we cooked in 45, Park Lane.
Yeah.
Elliot Grover, who's the head chef there, he runs that. So he used to cook for me in Hix Soho.
Nice.
And we did Mitch Tonks. Tom PB flaked at the last minute.
Of course he did.
Come on.
His dog got attacked by a large dog.
Really? He'd probably been taking too many of those little acid mushrooms he's
And
taking.
it's quite funny.
Yeah.
I'll give you a photograph later of it. And Jack Stein, Rick's son,
Oh, yeah.
and Sam White, who also used to work for me.
Nice.
So they met. We stayed in the hotel room, and they gave us these lovely cakes. And the menu was basically these little illustrations of all of us, all of our heads.
Yeah. So sweet.
So when Tom pulled out, I bit his head off.
Gone.
Yeah, he's gone. Big party, though. Ended up, what, early hours in the morning? Come on, you're with Tonks.
Yeah.
We all get Tonks.
We ended up in Tonks. So my room's completely as I moved into it.
Yeah.
Tonks sees us a right mess by about 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.
Yeah, wow. 3 I mean, that is impressive at this age. I mean, I can't.
What age,
I can't
Freddie?
go past. No, I'm saying,
What
I'm
age?
saying at my age, I can't go past midnight.
I know it's
Was Elliot Grover always destined to be such a tart? Do you know what I mean?
He's
like
a bit of a tart.
he is a tart.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
quite
always in
proud
that
of him.
kitchen with someone.
He never does any work, does he?
Well, I don't. That's not what I'm here to say, Fred.
But it's quite nice when your protégés like that do really well.
Unbelievable.
Because, some people, I mean, years and years ago, back in the sort of Ivy Caprice days, there weren't that many of my protégés that sort of went off and did things that well.
No.
And now they're sort of scattered around doing
beautiful to
nice
see.
stuff. Yeah.
We had Richard Corrigan on a couple of weeks ago. He was saying you've got to ask Mark Hix his thoughts on pizza. Come on.
On pizza?
Yeah. Apparently you're not a fan of pizza. He said it's not a real meal. Richard.
No, well, it's do you know what? The only time I really eat pizza is, I'll give you an example. So I went to, I took my little daughter, she's away at school, and quite a funny story actually. So on the way, I was Googling for, I love Chinese, so does my daughter.
Yeah.
Grungy stuff.
Yeah, proper stuff.
And she loves it as well. She eats intestines and all sorts of stuff.
Beautiful.
I googled this Chinese restaurant in Marlborough, and I found. I said, I'm on the way. I found a Chinese restaurant. So there we are, walking down the high street, and we were looking at number whatever it was, and she had her phone as well. She said, "Dad, this is in California, not Wiltshire." So we ended up in Pizza Express.
Right. Okay.
And Tom PB's son was there on the table. Yeah, my daughter was going, Dad, it's Tom, my friend Tom's.
Quite fun. All of this kicking off in
So
Wiltshire.
that's the sort of time I'll eat pizza.
Right, okay. You
All
wouldn't
right.
seek
I
that.
don't mind a pizza or offsprings of pizza, sort of flatbreads with various toppings. But
Mate, no one feels.
I don't know why Corrigan said that. I bet that was a sort of.
I think he feels like he's out there on his own.
2 a.m. in the Groucho Club one night.
Yeah. Have you had some
You've
good
gone
nights
on a rant,
with Corrigan? You must have done.
Well, back in the old days, Corrigan and I would finish work, go to the Groucho. And we used to be one of the few members that would get our bill sent at the end of the month. So,
What do you mean? Most people aren't paying.
no, you pay on the night,
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
But we were sort of long-term members.
yeah, nice. Okay.
Founders
You were
almost.
trusted.
So we used to get this bill, and of course, by the end of the month, you don't realise that you drank that much. And quite often, if we left or one of us left, someone else would say, "Oh yeah, can you put that on Mark's tab or Corrigan's tab?" So we used to have some really quite messy nights there, and huge bills. I mean, Corrigan told me this story once. He got a bill at the end of the month, and it was something like, I don't know, 6,000 quid or something.
Christ, that is good going. And is it itemised? Can you see what that?
You can, yeah, but you don't.
They're
Really
chucking on a lot of stuff, aren't
they? Yeah, chances.
It's when you get a bill at the end of the night like this.
Yeah, you're like, oh god.
And what about Tonksed? Because before this thing you did last night, you were cooking a sort of, what was it, a tinned and smoked fish?
Yeah, we
night.
sort of do. We started calling it tonics on tour.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the tonics Douro wine that we did the label for.
Yeah.
We end up doing stuff. So we're going to Douro in Portugal in
Nice.
2 weeks' time. Last week we did what day is it now? It's
Friday.
earlier this week we did. No, it was last week. We did tinned and smoked. So Mitch's tin range, my smoked fish range, and Sophia from Tonics, Quinta de la Rosa was there as well.
Wow.
So we did like 9 courses of interesting dishes with canned fish. So we did
What does that look like?
yeah. So we did a squid ink risotto. We did a sort of salad niçoise with this mackerel.
Beautiful.
And then we did a sardine pasta.
Lovely.
I did some cured sugar pit ox cheeks.
Oh,
So we did 9. You know, it's quite interesting for the punters because
yeah.
you know most people think that tin fish just goes on toast.
Yeah.
So
There's a whole world out there. Yeah.
How was the menu written that evening? Because I know you've got a problem with the modern menu. Come on, I want to hear the full rant and I want to hear it from the great Mark Hix.
Okay. Since then, we did my old restaurant, which is now Rockfish.
Yeah.
Mitch and I did a dinner because we thought it would be a good idea that to show our collaboration as always with the customers, the regulars, and his regulars. So we did a 5-course dinner there, and the menu was written with ands and no.
Okay, so give
Well,
me
I've
an
got a
example.
real. Okay, so
Get it off your chest.
I'll get it off my chest.
We've got booze.
Give me an
we've got
example
food,
of how it would be
okay, so
written
years
incorrectly.
ago, I'll go back to the beginning. So years ago, I was sort of quite proud about how I wrote menus. Seasonality. Our late friend Charles Campion once said to me, Mark, when I look at your menu, I know what month it is. I almost know what week it is because the way it's written.
Yeah.
So I've always sort of just naturally written menus. I wasn't great at English at school, but when it comes to writing a menu, I can do it. So these days, I call it lazy. Is it incompetent? I don't know. But wherever you go now, 99% of places, ingredient, comma, ingredient, comma, ingredient, comma.
Yeah, right.
So it might say feather blade, comma, shallots, comma, tarragon, comma, peppercorns.
Yeah.
Is it braised, the feather blade?
Give me something more. Yeah.
So,
And also there's no hierarchy there, so you don't know what's
a customer's point of view, you're sort of second guessing how the thing's cooked, and then you ask the waiter, is this braised or is it, whatever. So it's sort of, I'll give you another story. So I did a dinner at River Cottage, which is near me.
Yeah.
Sent the menu in, correctly written. And an hour before, 2 hours before, I asked the restaurant manager, I was like, can you just show me the menu to check, for grammar or spelling mistakes or typos or whatever. So she brought me the menu and I looked at it and I thought, this is not the menu I sent you because the ands and the withs had all been taken out. So I said to her, come on. I said, Hugh went to Eton. I said, if I was his English teacher, I doubt if I'd have given him 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I doubt if he knows even how the menus are written.
No.
So
It does now.
It does now.
Were they reinstated, the ands? And
Yeah.
Quite right too.
Because I think there's a certain art to menu writing. If you go to France, for example, you don't look at a menu. It's got poulet, estragon, comma, mori.
Yeah.
You don't see that.
No.
And the same in Italy.
Yeah.
So it's my pet hate at the moment. I know very well that if I go to a new restaurant, it's going to be badly written.
All that nonsense.
Chicken, seps.
Yeah.
Something.
It's just boring.
Well,
I think the chef gives the restaurant manager or whoever's writing the menu a list of ingredients. They stick it on the menu with commas in between.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Come on, bring back.
I think it might have stemmed back from.
Can we blame Fergus?
Well, so Fergus used to, he was, the master of, simplifying it, but it wasn't, ingredient, comma, ingredient, comma. There was a couple of withs and ands.
Yeah.
You kind of knew what the dish was, and so I don't blame him because that was his.
Also, with him, a bit
style
like
of
Margot was
writing.
saying, if it said pigeon with peas,
Yes,
it
exactly.
was genuinely pigeon with peas.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm guessing the food that you're talking about, the process has been more complicated than that,
Yeah,
but they're
yeah.
just giving you.
Yes,
the ingredients.
absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And I don't get it. I don't know where it's come from. It's for me, it's quite lazy.
Yeah.
And I know that I go to a restaurant, I open the menu, I was like, here we go.
What about the
You should just
restaurants
start
without a
writing
menu?
them.
The restaurants without a menu.
Yeah.
Yes.
We went to OSIT the other day. You didn't
Get
get
it
a
at
menu.
the end.
Yeah.
No, that's right. They give it. You get a souvenir at the end.
Yeah. Bit
Yeah.
weird, isn't it?
Slightly.
Beautifully printed.
Yeah. Well, I'm not doubting the
Have you framed yours?
No.
Have you kept it?
Yeah, still got it.
Really?
But it's weird, isn't it? Like.
Yeah. I mean, it works in Japanese restaurants, I think.
Yeah.
You know, because you know that you're going to get like 10 courses,
Yeah.
12 courses. It's all amazing ingredients,
Yeah.
well prepared.
And the whole thing's carried off with like a reverence for it,
yeah, absolutely.
which so it makes more sense maybe.
Talking about food, I mean, you know, when you had all your restaurants in London, you know, you had a fucking huge empire. It was beautiful. But is it true that you kept your chefs on their game by every Tuesday? You'd meet and you'd have like a cook-off. Like, can you just take us through that?
Yeah. So above the Tram Shed, I'd have the kitchen library. So there was like 12 seats. My sort of 1,500 cookbooks were all there. So every Tuesday, I used to get all the head chefs, sometimes the sous chefs, and myself. And it was called Challenge Hix. And it sort of got around town. You know, even Jay Rayner come and filmed it once.
Yeah, you haven't.
Yeah.
I've seen that video.
Yeah. And it was great though, because I would select, you know, a tray of seasonal ingredients, and I would stand side by side with each of the head chefs, and I think we had 30 minutes each maybe. And it was a challenge, but it was a learning curve as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you know, who's going to do the best dish, who's going to, you know. And that was also part and parcel of them learning how to write a menu. You know, so my hard and fast rule has always been no more than 3 main ingredients on the plate. You know, years ago in America, you used to look at menus and it went into 3 lines. You know, the farmer's name, the field's name.
Yeah.
So it was, it's not nice to Apple on us.
Love it.
You were.
No, I actually like it now.
You've
we
warmed
were
to it.
drinking Heppel vodka and ice for those listening
Douglas
and for those
Murdoch,
watching.
that's really.
But did that also inspire what went on the menu for the next week? Or?
Yeah, it did, absolutely. So those dishes would more often than not go on the menu, because after a while they all got used to what my expectations were.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a competition, you know, it was just more of an inspirational exercise to get, you know, because I don't think anyone else does that.
No.
And some places haven't got the space to do it, but, you know, this was like a private dining room, library, office sort of thing. So, you know, my old chefs still actually talk about it.
Yeah, what a great idea.
Yeah.
And as exec said, I mean, you once said if you're stuck in the kitchen, you don't get to sort of get the customer's experience.
Yeah.
So how important was that as sort of an exec chef to be able to see what they were doing? And how important is it as an owner and restaurateur to eat at your own restaurants?
Yeah, absolutely. It's crucial. I mean, I always remember when I was working for Chris and Jeremy, and I first started at the Caprice. That was my proper sort of head chef's job, sort of working for the masters. And we would, to get dishes on the menu, there would be a menu tasting, and Chris and Jeremy, or just one of them, would taste it. And I said, look, let's change this up a bit, mix it up a bit, and I'll come and sit with you both on a Thursday afternoon. It was always a Thursday afternoon. We'd have a few vinos. And back then, Jeremy would light up a fag as well. So we'd sort of get the fags out as well.
In the restaurant?
Yeah, in the restaurant.
Yeah.
But I'd give the brief, the recipe to my guys in the kitchen, and it would come out on the plate most of the time pretty much as, you know, and I think that sort of gave Chris and Jeremy a bit of confidence.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it also gave the chefs a bit of confidence as well.
How do you balance that? Because like when people go and eat at a new restaurant and it maybe is better than they thought or not as good, if it's not as good, the thing that people always say is, well, the chef's not even in the kitchen. So how do you balance it with
Well,
like...
you know, Jeremy said a really important thing which is stuck in my head when I first started at the Caprice, and he said, Mark, one thing with the menus and the dishes is, you know, do a new dish, but you need to cook what the customer wants to eat, not what you think the customer should eat.
Interesting.
And, you know, that has always stayed in my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to do a dish and you know, 4 or 5 things on the plate, bit of foam and some swirls and stuff. And, you know, you're sort of looking at it, wondering which, you know, is the main ingredient or not.
Yeah.
And the other thing he said very cleverly, and that was the salmon fish cake was a classic dish. And a lot of people that came to the Caprice and the Ivy would know what they wanted before they walked through the door without looking at the menu.
Yeah.
And Jeremy or Chris said to me, he said, people will be looking each other in the eye, doing a bit of business, whether it's film, music, theatre, and be able to eat the dish with one fork, not, dissecting it and losing track on the conversation. So those are sort of two things that, sort of stuck in my mind.
How was it? Because obviously they were famous. I don't know if they were famous, but they've never centered the chef or the food necessarily as the most important thing in the mix at their places. Yeah, which a lot of people would say that's the success of them. The food is good, but it's not the center.
Because the Ivy and the Caprice were not all about the food necessarily. It was the ambience and the service and all that sort of stuff. And
as the chef, though, did you buy into that? Was there ever hold on?
Absolutely, I did. Yeah. We used to have a vast menu at the Ivy, which was very international. There was Thai dishes on the menu. There was shepherd's pie. There was risotto with white truffles. The stuff from all around the world. And I always remember at the weekends, Jeremy used to come down to the kitchen with all the Saturday mags or newspapers, and he'd put it in front of me, and you'd sort of dread it if you knew a food critic, because back then the critics were really important. I remember when he introduced me to Adrian Gill once at the bar, when Adrian used to wear a monocle, and he said, "This is Adrian Gill. He's the new restaurant critic for the Times." He just sat at the bar at the Caprice on his own. But Jeremy used to bring down the papers, and he said, "Mark, look at this," and it was kind of I just started. No one had ever heard of me. And he said, look, I think it's Jonathan Meades or someone had written the 5 chefs to look out for. And there was Simon Hopkinson, Rowley Lee, Alistair Little, it might have been Marco Pierre White, and myself. I was kind of in that little handful, which gives you, a nice little bump up and a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Well, talking about food critics, I mean, you ended up quickly overseeing the Ivy, the Caprice, J Sheekey, Scots, creating some of the most iconic dishes: risotto nero, eggs Arlington, crispy duck and watercress salad. Now, Jay Rayner said, talking of critics, that was originally a crispy pork.
Yes,
but then the Jewish clientele went touching it. Is that right?
Yes, I put it on the menu based on the sort of stuff that you'd have at Chinese with Richard Corrigan at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I did a salad, which was pork belly, and then it was cooked and then sliced up, and it was crispy fried, and we toss it in a sort of soy ginger dressing with watercress and spring onions and stuff, coriander. And of course the thing wasn't selling, and we'd sit around the table on a Thursday, and Jeremy said, that dish is fantastic, but the problem? It's the wrong meat, because a lot of our customers were from North London.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I said, I'll make it tomorrow with duck. So we did it with duck, and it would fly out.
It was away.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, but that's one of those things that eat what the customers want to eat.
Yeah.
Because I thought the right thing would be pork.
Yeah.
Because we go there after the Groucho.
Yeah.
Most of the dishes are made of pork.
Yeah. Well, what were some of your favourite dishes you came up with in that time? Like, do you have a?
Okay, so actually, one of the things that I was, as a young chef in a really mainstream popular restaurant, I did a grilled rabbit with soft polenta, black olives and rosemary, and I was one of the first to put a proper black ink risotto on the menu. And Jonathan Meades come in and reviewed, and I forget, it was 8 out of 10 or something, but he was raving about the grilled rabbit leg and the ink risotto, because they were kind of different. And the menu at the Caprice was quite international. It was American-ish, not an American diner, but it was kind of what was happening in New York at that time, main course salads and all that sort of stuff. And that was kind of, some of the inspiration, but there was no, the menu was, if you remember, it's like the menu was in the middle, and then we had the weekly specials handwritten down the side. So that was where you would put the white truffle risotto.
Fun out.
Yeah. And that was fun, and it was exciting then. So I learned an awful lot about food and customers and how restaurants should be run. It's funny, the other day I was having a bit of a clear out, throwing away old insurance policies and stuff, and I got to the bottom of the box, and there was a Sunday Times style magazine.
Yeah.
And I thought, why did I keep this? And it was when I first opened the Tram Shed. So I opened it up, double page spread, Adrian Gill, slagging me off for. I had lunch with him. So he opened up by saying, "By the way, this is not a food review. I've known Mark for 20 years, whatever.
Yeah.
We've written 2 books together. Blah blah blah." Anyway, he goes on and he, say tongue in cheek, sort of cheeky, if you like. And he talked about the kitchen library where I'd do sort of demos and whatever. And he said, and I could teach people how to overcook chicken.
Go on.
And then the very last bit, there was my girlfriend at the time who was pregnant, and he said, "Oh, that's your girlfriend over there, Lara. She looks pregnant." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where are you going to live?" I said, "Don't know yet." He said, "Are you going to get a nanny?" I said, "No, I don't think so. You got any recommendations?"
I mean, a word on his legacy?
No, he was great. He was a good writer. He was actually, all of those critics back then were quite terrifying. Faye Mashler, Jonathan Meades, Adrian Gill, they were all, pretty terrifying. And if they came into the restaurant, you'd be like, you wouldn't know if it was going to come out next week or the week after. And there was one particular time when I did Brown's hotel restaurant that Adrian had been in, and then I was reading the review, and he got quite a few of the dishes wrong. He said that he had fin de Clare oysters, and all our oysters were English. So as I was reading it, I was texting him. He was probably writing another review about another restaurant. So of course, in his next review, he mentioned that I was texting him whilst I was reading it that I got the dishes wrong.
Yeah. Because there's like people have said reviewing's dead and whatever, but then it seems to be having a bit of a resurgence. People like David Ellis are kind of getting out there. But the guys you've just mentioned, they managed to tread this line seemingly between being honest / acerbic, but also kind of being part of the world and being mates with some of you.
Yeah.
So how did they pull that off? What did that feel like?
Well, they were high profile, really, really high profile. And of course, then there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't podcasts.
Yeah, right.
There was, online stuff was pretty
happier times.
So everything was in print.
Yeah.
So when you open, you buy every newspaper at the weekend, and just pray to God that you had a good review or an average review. And there was a couple that Adrian gave me which were shockers. And
he did put the boot in a couple of times.
Yeah. He did. When I opened Bermondsey, not Bermondsey, I'm talking about Belgravia. He laid the boot in, but when he writes it, he said, Mark Hix or Hixie wouldn't mind reading this review because he doesn't give a fuck if I've given him a good review or a bad review.
Would he text you to say just so you know, or
no,
just come out?
Bump into him somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Belgravia, I mean, that was quite an expensive.
Oh God!
Can we talk about that? 800 grand.
Yeah. I mean,
oh God!
I sort of went on a bit of a roll. Oyster and Chop House, Oyster and Fish House, Hix Soho. We had a restaurant in Selfridges.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing Brown's Hotel as well,
Yeah.
just to sort of help support the restaurants a bit.
It's exciting times.
And then I got this opportunity to do the restaurant in Belgravia, and it got to a point about 6 or 7 months in, and I was losing money, and I ended up after 11 months, I'd lost 800 grand.
Christ.
And back then, it was kind of my own money. I didn't have a backer. I had a 20% business partner. So it was basically the 800 grand was coming out of our business bank account.
Yeah. Wow.
Whereas these days, I think a lot of people with backers would,
Oh, you lose other people's money nowadays. Yeah.
So I sort of learned a lesson.
What was going wrong though? What was?
It was funny because Belgravia, it's quite a wealthy area. But at night, you sort of go through and all the lights that were on in the houses were in the basement, the housekeepers.
Yeah, right.
There was no lights on upstairs.
Yeah, so there's no one about to come for dinner, basically.
Yeah, so it was. I thought at the time it was a good idea to do somewhere that was not tapped into.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Or you were early, maybe. I don't know.
I was too early, or too late, or something. Yeah.
Let's go back to challenge Hixie, and also I'm going to challenge Ben to bring out a bottle of wine for Mark Hix.
That's a challenge I can rise to.
Yeah. What we got? What's in the armoury?
Little bottle of Albarino.
Nice.
I don't know how to say the bit here, but Rias by Chess.
Beautiful.
Oh, marvellous.
Because we've got some mackerel coming out later, so
we've got one of your iconic dishes
cooking
coming
as well?
out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Done a bit, a little stargazy pie with some other bits and pieces.
Go on.
Which we have. Well, no, I don't.
Should we bring it out now? Would you try some now?
I don't know if you want to try.
Why not?
It's delicious.
Well, why wouldn't you want to try it?
Who made it?
I made
Ben,
it.
he's an ex-chef for 10 years. I mean,
It's
come
high.
on.
It's a little. It's just high. It's high on
You
the
got a
nose.
5-star from Fair Masher. I'm sure it's fine.
Let me pour the wine. I'll bring the pie out.
Let's go back to Challenge Hixie, because a word on the great Ronnie Murray. Obviously, created incredible dishes for you at J Sheekey Scott's Hix group. But I mean, for those who don't know, he's only got one arm. I mean, it's incredible that he's been able to sort of. Because everyone comes on and goes like, we went under every day back in the 90s. It was so hard to cook a la carte. Yeah. He's fucking bossing it.
No, Ronnie's great. But it's funny that chefs with, you just prompted me to think about the Stargazy pie.
Yeah.
Cooking against
Iconic.
Michael Caine's
Great
British menu.
Yeah.
In the southwest heat.
Yeah.
And, the film crew loved it because I was, Michael was cooking. The idea is it was seasonal and it was representing the southwest. So, of course, Michael went, he laughs every time he walks towards me now. And the film crew used to. I don't do TV, and I did the Great British Menu, sort of peer pressure, and
quite right too.
The dishes that Michael did were not in season at all. He did duck breast of apples, tart tatin, or tart fin aux pommes, and something else that was not really in season. And of course, I did the rabbit and crayfish stargazer pie, and elderflower jelly with fruits and ice cream in the middle. So, of course, everyone was taking a piss out of me. It was coming on the Great British Menu doing a pie and jelly. What are you thinking? But, of course, in the end, I won two dishes instead of one dish for the final.
Yeah.
So they had, jelly on their face and pie all over their jackets.
And you're in season.
Yeah, exactly.
Mention the Hix group, though. I mean, one of the jewels in the crown ended up being the Tram Shed. But it was a fucking nightmare to open, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So the Tram Shed was an old Victorian tram shed and, power station for the trams that used to run then. So, of course, he bought the building. It was a friend of mine that owned the building. And he said, would you want to do a restaurant there? So I walked inside. It was cavernous, 200 or 300 seats. And I was sort of there staring at it, thinking, well, okay, what am I going to do with this thing? So got some architects in. I would never let interior designers into my restaurants. I always did the design myself. So I was sitting around. I decided to do it. Big project, really ballsy to do it. And we would sit around the table, and I'd think, I think we need to put a mezzanine somewhere to break up the, the vast cavernous space. And then they would have this model of the restaurant. And I walked into a meeting a bit late, and they'd made this mezzanine right slap bang in the middle of the restaurant. So I looked at it, and I picked the mezzanine up and moved it towards the end. And I said, I think we need a sculpture or something in the middle of the restaurant. So whilst I'm sitting there, I send Damien Hirst a text, and I said, listen, I'm opening the chicken and steak restaurant. Have you got any ideas? I need a sculpture or something. Anyway, 2 days later, his guys did a sort of visual thing of this huge fish tank with a cow in it with a chicken on its back. And my business partner at the time was Indian and, no beef. He said, look, Mark, if you're putting that in the restaurant, I'm not coming in, This was Ratnesh, you probably know him. So I just sort of laughed it off and didn't take it seriously. But that thing was, it was historic and it was quite ballsy to do. But the restaurant was chicken and steak. The menu was in the formaldehyde, really.
Well,
became iconic, that thing.
Yeah.
I know you used to pay off some of your art with food, but I mean, how did you fund that one? I mean, that would have been quite a lot of dinners.
Yeah, no, that was a loan. And he only came in about 3 times. 4 times. But, when you know these people, I suppose the one way to look at it, and I sort of thought about it, and a lot of the art, if you put artists, and mainly they're your mates anyway, you would, there's more people would see their work than in a gallery. Yeah. So they were really happy to have their work on the walls, especially, in exchange for food.
100%. Yeah. But when you were trying to open it up, there were some problems with the neighbours as well, right?
Yeah, there was problems with the neighbours. We had an electrical problem, being at a power station before.
Yeah.
So we had a huge, electrical power station outside the restaurant for about 2 months to run the thing. Because that was all obviously old power and it had been disconnected. Yeah. It was, it was redundant, that building, for years and years. And anyway, eventually we got, good amount of power into the building. But
2016, you worked again with Damien Hirst on Pharmacy 2. Talk us through the offering there, for those who weren't aware of its delights at Vauxhall.
Yeah, so during my sort of journey into restaurants, let's add another one to it. And, Damien had just opened. I wasn't at all involved with the first pharmacy in Notting Hill.
No. Yeah.
That was a bit of a disaster, too many partners and all that sort of
Quite
stuff.
cool, though.
Yeah, it was.
I remember going there
at the time, yeah.
I was quite young.
And then I think I went, this is post me leaving Scott's. I walked past Scott's one day, Damien was outside, sat down, he said, I've got a new project that you might be interested in, should we do it? So I ended up doing the pharmacy, and it was a bit like, not like the Ivy menu, but it was quite international. It's like greatest hits, if you like. Some of the things that Damien liked, like curry and stuff, which was always on my menus anyway.
Yeah.
And it got, at the beginning, both the gallery and the restaurant got rave reviews.
Yeah.
Because you had really good shows in the gallery. People would come in, Adrian reviewed it, and everyone reviewed it and loved it. But of course, then it's sort of the gallery itself went out of steam a little bit. Therefore, because where it was, you had to get your taxi almost up to the front door so you didn't get mugged going into the restaurant.
Is it sort of by the train tracks near Vauxhall?
Yeah,
Is that the one?
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah.
So it's quite hairy going there. So obviously the type of people that went there were limited, and it sort of didn't really. We had a good couple of years or so out of it.
Yeah.
But it was great. It's one of those things that you can,
cool thing to have done.
Yeah.
Does it even open the gallery anymore? Is it?
Occasionally. I
Yeah.
think.
Okay. Not.
Ben, come on, take us through what you've done there.
Go on, Ben.
I've done a stargazy pie, Freddie, but I've done it with sardines and mackerel.
Well, that was the original.
Yeah.
Okay, so sardines or pilchards.
Or pilchards. We could call those pilchards.
Yeah. That was the original.
Looks glorious.
West
I'll
Country
get
dish.
And then I just done a little beetroot salad. I
What?
don't know.
You what?
What do you know?
I just don't know if I'm happy with it, Mark.
Why are you not happy with it?
Well, we're in a basement studio. I cooked it at home.
That's okay.
It's not how it's meant to be, is it?
Well, Mark, please help yourself to some, please.
Or
Come on,
don't.
at least
Lovely.
try it.
Well, I've not had
There's a
lunch
big
yet.
knife here if you want to use. You like a small sheet.
Whatever, a small one.
Was it Rivington Grill 2005 when you got to be friends with all those artists? Damien, Sarah Lucas, Tracy Emin?
Yeah. So I used to live in Shoreditch at the time.
Yeah.
Just on Great Eastern Street,
Sorry.
what became the Rivington Grill was probably about 5 or 6 different restaurants.
Yeah.
And then I found out who the landlord was and walked into his office and said, this place is not working for you. Would you, can I get the lease?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. He said, the guys at the moment, it's not working. They're losing money for me and for them. So I did it. And I had no money, and I was still doing the Ivy and the Caprice and Sheekeys at the time. And under Luke Johnson's time. And Luke was fine about it, actually. He bought into it and didn't mind me doing another little restaurant on the side. But in the beginning, I used to sit at the bar in the restaurant. There was no customers.
Really?
Yeah. I was sat at the bar on my own or with one other person. So I had to rent a crowd. So I'd phone up all my friends that had galleries and artists in the area, and suddenly they'd sort of come in, and then it became a bit like sort of Cheers bar.
Yeah.
But I did a sort of classic British, Hix menu, if you like. And it suddenly got busier. I always remember James Goff, the late James Goff, who owned Sterling Ackroyd estate agents.
Yeah, right.
We were in the loo one day, and he said, Mark, he said, this place is not going to work. It's never worked. And he said, you've only got 5 customers out there in the restaurant and the bar. I went, okay, thanks. Thanks for the support. But he said, I would come here because I live around the corner. I said, okay. And anyway, so it took a while to take off. But then about 2 months later, James was in there and he said to me, he shook my hand again. He said, Mark, I was wrong. I'll take my hat off to you. Because it was like full of, the YBAs and, cool
What was it
people
like that
that lived
time?
in
It
here.
felt like art and food kind of became the 2 coolest things you could possibly be doing.
Yeah.
And we're like mates with each other.
Yeah.
It
Because
must have been quite an exciting
there was
moment.
only 2 of us doing art parties. So Margot and myself. So we had a sort of share of the the good art parties and dinners and stuff in London, which was great. and we'd never tread on people's toes. And I always remember Margot one day. She had a sort of little outside catering company, so did we.
Yeah.
I went to see her somewhere. She had my British seasonal and British regional food. She said, "Mark, I use your book as a Bible." And I went, "Great, thank you." And she would take recipes from my book or influenced by.
Mm.
But the
You
best,
happy with that?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But the best one, you probably know about it. It was the Gordon Ramsay one.
Go on.
Do you know about it?
No.
So I was at a party in Gordon Ramsay's father-in-law's shop in Knightsbridge,
Yeah.
just near the what do you call it, hotel. And there was Mark Sargent, who worked for Gordon Ramsay, and they just opened a pub called the Narrow. In
Yeah.
Yeah. London's.
This is good, by the way.
Is that all right? Imagine it warm.
Yeah, one. Yeah. Anyway, so Mark Sargent was saying, "Oh, Hixie, we use your regional food and seasonal book as the Bible." I went, "Oh, great, thanks." And he was going on, and right behind me was a journalist from the Daily Mail or something, listening exactly to what I said. So the following day, I was getting these sort of phone calls, no caller ID, blah, 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 which I didn't answer, in case it was a tax man or something.
Yeah. Nice.
And I think Gordon Ramsay was also getting similar sort of phone calls. Anyway, so neither of us spoke to any journalists. It was all based on what
had been overheard.
journalist, I can't remember his name now. Anyway, so about 2 days later, I opened the Daily Mail up, and it was a double pager. So the left-hand page was a photograph of my cookbook, British Regional Food.
Yeah.
The right-hand page was the Narrow pub sign. So they used 2 pages with photographs of the dishes from the book, photographs of the dishes on the menu.
So they were lifting stuff wholesale-ish.
Yeah, but again, I didn't really mind.
I mean, that's got to be good for book sales.
So I went there. Yeah, I went there myself just to check if it was right, and it was. It was freaking identical.
So it was all your dishes.
Yeah.
On the menu. That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, Gordon.
I mean, if I did do it, I wouldn't admit to it.
No. Well, Sargent probably had something to keep him going there, hadn't he? He was probably being a bit loose-tongued.
But there was another scenario where I think Gordon had a new cookbook out, and the famous Scandinavian ice berries with hot white chocolate sauce. No one ever copied it because for a pastry chef it was too simple. 3 ingredients: frozen berries, double cream, white chocolate.
Yeah.
And someone said to me, "Mark, your recipe's in this new cookbook." I said, "Okay," and they showed me a copy, and they said, "But I think there's something missing." So he'd done frozen berries and just melted white chocolate. So you'd imagine what happens if you pour melted white chocolate onto something that's frozen.
Yeah.
Did you ask him about that?
No, I never got a credit, and I never, thank God.
Oh, Gordon, we're calling you out.
Never, yeah.
Well, you probably, because there's a rule with cookbooks, so long as 6% of the dish is different, it can't be plagiarism. So Gordo obviously knows that inside out.
Yeah.
Was the GP at the Ivy the Caprice incredible? Because you're making comfort food. You're making the shepherd's pies. You're making 3-ingredient puddings. Like, do you know what I mean? And people aren't questioning the sort of the sourcing of it.
No. Our ingredients were good, and I made sure that I sourced really good ingredients. And we were really well priced back then compared to other restaurants. But yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, like everywhere, you have to run a bit of a tight ship. Minimise waste, labour, all that sort of stuff. Which isn't the case, sadly, now, because rents are crazy.
Well,
everyone struggles in London. Hix Soho, overnight the landlord doubled my rent to $500,000, and I wasn't even making $100,000 profit.
wow.
So that really sort of screwed it up a little bit.
It's a special site, that little Hix Soho site.
Yeah, it was
that
great.
Bar downstairs where you sit at the
Mark's
level
bar.
of the bar.
I mean, I would do another Mark's bar tomorrow because everyone says, "Would you open another restaurant in London?" I categorically say no.
No.
But what I would do a Mark's bar
Yeah, it's magic.
with no food. Well, maybe cheese
Yeah.
and maybe canned stuff with a bit of toast or,
Yeah, that's what
cured
people
meats.
want.
So there's no kitchen, there's no chefs, and just do a Mark's bar.
Yeah.
When you open a restaurant,
Please do
did you follow the mantra of Corbyn and King that you listened to? We had Jeremy King on the show. Don't know if you know.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, but you're a big fan. But he listens to buildings. And they dictate the concept. Is that the same with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was always building led.
Mm.
So the Oyster and Chop House in Smithfield, I'd been there years ago when it was called Rudland Stubbs. And it was a smelly old fish restaurant near the meat market, always empty. And the night I went to check it out, Fabric nightclub was right next door. So I went to check it out, and the road off the main street that runs Green Hill Rents, it was completely blocked by the queue with barriers, for night, queuing up for the nightclub.
Yeah.
Fabric. So we sort of made our way through. Of course, we were the only people in the restaurant. And, obviously we were going to buy it. And so I then got to know the owner of Fabric, and I said, look, can we not just... He said, yeah, of course you can, no problem. So, there would be... The road would still be open, the barriers would be either side on the pavement. But, it's a lovely old historic building.
Yeah.
The Tram Shed's historic. The Oyster and Fish House is a great building. Where else have we? The only one, well, obviously Belgravia we talked about. Hix was an interesting site because it was on a street that was sort of untapped into, if you like.
Yeah.
And we we sort of famously brought the rent prices down in Soho because we negotiated so hard for the lease.
That's the opposite of what normally happens. So you set a new low bar.
Then, of course,
for the...
all of the other property agents in Soho were, swearing at us for bringing the property prices down. Because, of course, we all ask each other, how much rent do you pay for that?
What's your premium? So,
come on, 90s, 2000s. I mean, Ben brought it up in a open table event we did recently. We sadly had to take it out of the script. I don't know why. But the impact of cocaine on the London food scene in the 2000s, what was it like as an operator?
Yeah, it's rife. You turn a blind eye to it. When I first started in Dorchester in London, when I was like 19 years old or 20 years old, all of the chefs, I never touched any white powder and never did, but all the chefs were on speed.
Yeah, right.
Which was an early form of cocaine, really. Yeah. So the chefs would say, and we used to be able to stay in the Dorchester. So, of course, the rooms upstairs, the chefs would stay overnight if they were doing a double shift or something.
What a treat.
And, we'd go upstairs and snort, speed.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember John Spiteri.
It's a way of life, yeah.
Yeah, it was a way of life.
It became a way of life.
Also, the customer, because I remember I used to work at the Dot Kitchen for Stevie Powell, and you'd send out this beautiful food, and a lot of it would come back sometimes off certain tables, especially larger tables, people celebrating something. And obviously, as a chef, you want to go, was that all right? Was anything, they say there's anything wrong with it? And they'd say, no, it's all fine. They're making a lot of trips to the bathroom, don't worry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, but people were still using restaurants, still placing proper orders.
Yeah. I think it was, it was just something really natural. I always remember there was, in the days of the Ivy, undercover, there was a thing, and I think it's the Evening Standard, and they tested the loo seats in the Groucho, the Ivy, and somewhere else, and I think the Ivy and the Groucho would come top of the list for the amount of cocaine residue that was still on the loo seats or the flusher.
Yeah, I can imagine. At its height, you had a huge restaurant empire. When Jeremy King came on, he said, I'm never going to be able to retire because I've made money, but then you reinvest that money, you lose money, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
It's not a game, like even then when things were better than they are maybe now, is it still like, is it easy to make money? Is it?
No, it's not. You've got to be really clever, have a good relationship with the landlord. Because after that scenario at Soho, it's just undoable, really. And I wrote a couple of pieces saying that, landlords need to work with the restaurants as partners almost, on a sort of revenue-based rent.
Yeah.
Where their your rent would be based on what revenue you're taking. So on the upside, the landlord gets more rent. On the downside, if it's quiet, they get a bit less.
Yeah.
And there was a few landlords that were up for doing that.
Really?
Yeah, because it's sort of, word gets around. And suddenly everyone's talking to either the same landlords or different landlords and suggesting the same stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, a partnership, because if I was a landlord and I had faith in my tenant and I knew that their restaurant was going to be busy, I would agree a rent and get the upside of it, when it's really busy.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of people were fucked by COVID, but none more so than you. All your restaurants closing in London, especially you moving out the city. How do things... Obviously, it was a horrible time, but how did things so dramatically implode? Because it was something sort of out of your control, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, what happened was a couple of years, 3 years before COVID, I decided to, cash in some of the business, take on some business partners, and 2 days before I thought they'd help me enhance the business.
Yeah.
Take it forward, enable me to expand sensibly, because I sort of expanded fairly rapidly, in the old days.
That was amazing.
Because it was, we were making a bit of money. So anyway, 2 days before lockdown, even sort of before everyone had heard about it, I got a phone call, and I was told that the board of my business partners decided to put the restaurants into administration. So all of a sudden, overnight, I'd lost 5 restaurants.
Without you knowing? Or without you being...
I was told on the phone. There wasn't a board meeting.
But based on... Because they saw COVID coming, or they just...
Yeah, they've been...
Opportunity here.
Yeah, opportunity not to lose money. So, maybe it was a blessing.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't. But, I think probably the way I was told about it didn't help. But then they didn't want to furlough the staff, so I had to stand up in the Tram Shed with 130 staff and tell them they haven't got any jobs the day after tomorrow, and I'm sorry, you haven't got any furlough.
Brutal.
So it was quite brutal.
Yeah. Was the Tram Shed just jumping around a bit? But obviously your starters, your puddings changed, but then it was basically steak or chicken.
Yeah.
Did that obviously you ran Le Coq, which was the chicken rotisserie place. You said the GP was good. Was that easier as a restaurant?
Yeah. Well, the problem is, I started off by just doing the roast chicken for 2 or 3 to share on the stands, which was
rosemary.
Yeah, stuffing in the middle with a spoon, and I kind of got that. I started doing it at the Oyster and Chop House because I was influenced from Chez L'Ami Louis in Paris.
Yeah,
where you'd get the very generous portions of stuff, and a lot of it was sharing. So I thought, okay, well let's do a chicken and steak restaurant. So in the beginning, I just did 1 steak and the chicken, and of course, what happens? I think, maybe we should put 2 different types of steaks on. And then one night on a Saturday or Friday, I thought, I'm just going to get a few different steaks in. So we had 3 steaks. We had a porterhouse steak for 2, a single sirloin or rib, whatever it was, and another steak. And then, all really popular, selling well. But of course, you bastardize it a little bit, instead of sort of sticking to, like Flatiron did, just doing 1 steak, the chips, the salad.
Yeah.
So I did sort of get a bit carried away, as most restaurateurs would.
Easy to do.
Yeah. So easy.
Well, we should say today's show is powered by our mates at Blink, the UK heroes flipping the POS world on its head. No contracts, no hidden fees, no pet advice nonsense. Running a restaurant, and then you already know that most POS systems are slow, clunky, they're daylight robbery. But Blink isn't. For just £69 a month, you get unlimited devices, proper UK support, and 0 headaches. That's half the price of the big guys. And way less stress, and we're going to give you a free month with the code GO2BLINK with a Q. Now, Mark, you grew up in Dorset, but 6 years old, your parents get divorced, and a weird thing happens. Your brother goes off with your mum, you go off with your dad. Yeah. Your dad's absent, you're off with the grandparent. I mean, that must have had a big impact on you, right?
So unusually, my mum went off, my dad got custody of me and my brother.
Yeah.
And my brother went to live with my mum's parents, and I went to live with my dad's parents most of the time. But my granddad was a great guy. He was, at one point, when I was born, he was the mayor of the town. He also ran the local pub.
Cool.
He was chairman of the football club, prize chrysanthemum grower. He was on West Dorset District Council, very keen gardener, and didn't drive.
Quite a man about town.
He had a painting and decorating business.
Cool. So where in Dorset?
In Bridport.
Bridport, lovely.
He used to go to work in the morning with a ladder on the bike and the pots of paint. Like you see in the cartoon.
Yeah, like Carl Jeb,
because he couldn't drive.
So I looked up to him. We used to sit at night, and he used to have his invoices that he was doing.
Yeah.
And whilst we were watching Benny Hill or 40 Towers. So we were both there pissing ourselves. My gran was in the kitchen cooking something. And but he was one of those really inspirational characters. It wasn't until much later in life. But, because my dad was quite absent. I remember sitting on the beach sometimes and there were sort of sprats bubbling the water, and him and his mates would go out in these wooden boats, put these seine nets out, catch sardines, pilchard sardines.
Yeah.
And or sprats, and I wouldn't see him for a week because they used to sell the sprats for cash.
Yeah.
And they'd go
And then they'd be away.
Yeah. And he used to come back like black eye and bruised and stuff. And so he was quite. We were more like sort of mates than anything.
Right.
So
People don't
he
talk
was
about
kind
the
of
dangerous
absent.
sprat money much, do they?
No.
When you make it.
No.
Wow.
No, exactly, and it was done for a bit of fun, but they were also doing it for a bit of cash.
Yeah, nice.
But even as a sort of prepubescent boy, when you're at school, you realise that domestic science is your way into meeting lots of beautiful girls. But actually, you turned out to be an absolute whiz in the kitchen.
Yeah. So what happened was the 5th year at school, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. Most people don't do it when they're 15 or whatever.
No, it's too early.
So it's the first year that in schools that boys could do domestic science and girls could do metalwork. I used to hate metalwork. You'd be filing away at a piece of metal to get this really dodgy looking key ring or something. So we thought, the three of us thought, okay, why don't we do domestic science? Because we'll be in a classroom full of girls. So we turned up on day one. There was the three of us and the teacher. All the girls went to do metalwork.
Yeah,
That's
right,
hilarious.
of course.
So anyway, we spent a year just, cooking, doing domestic science.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I'd thought, is going to be.
But did that?
Well, what happened?
Were you good at it immediately?
Yeah, I quite liked it, but I didn't ever regard myself as good at it. We made things like pineapple upside down cake and all those sort of classic little things.
Yeah.
And then my dad had this friend called Hamish who was in a band. He had a local bistro restaurant, so we met in the pub. He said, "Why don't you send Mark to catering college?" So to this day, I sort of thank Hamish.
Yeah, fucking right.
Talking my dad into it. And I went to college in Weymouth, which was about 18 miles away. I had this great lecturer called Laurie Mills, right? And he would live and breathe. He worked in London, Dorchester, and the Grosvenor House, same as me.
Cool.
I sort of followed in his footsteps.
Yeah.
And he was a great chef, always talked about food. We'd go to the pub at lunchtime with him. And then on a Thursday afternoon, we'd do a thing called electives. So you could choose another subject. So it could be art or sport or whatever. So on a Thursday, we used to go to the pub and then we used to go to his flat with a lot of girls or whatever and have a party. And I ended up staying in this flat and missing. We never went to electives for the whole term.
And he was the teacher.
He was in charge.
And I thought, Christ, this is fun. I'm going to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, quite a life.
So I wrote to, as you do when you leave college. It's only a 2-year course. So I wrote to, all the hotels that, you'd heard of that they would recommend. You wouldn't write to restaurants then because it was mainly hotel dining rooms that were restaurants that were good. And, the only job I could get, my mates got jobs at the Dorchester and the Grosvenor House. The only job offer I got was in the staff canteen at the Hilton in Park Lane. So I was at the bottom of Park Lane in the staff canteen. My friends are further up Park Lane at the Dorchester
Living the high life.
Grosvenor House.
Yeah.
So what were you cooking at the Hilton then?
Well, I was just putting frozen peas in the steamer and chips.
Really?
And stuff. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Did you start? I mean, could you try stuff?
Yeah.
As in, like, were you like, oh, I've made.
Yeah, we had this Indian guy that was the sort of head chef in the canteen, and then I knew it wasn't for me, but it was to get my foot in the door in London. And back then it was tall chef's hats and neckerchiefs.
Yeah.
Like John Williams, even to this day.
Yeah.
The tallest hat in London.
So so then I eventually got an interview at the Grosvenor House because some of my friends were working there, working for Anton Edelman, who had previously worked under Anton Mosman. So I did 2 years. And then I got a job at the Dorchester and did another 2 years. Yeah.
You'd
What
arrive.
was it like under Edelman? Because Locatelli, was he there at the same time as he, maybe?
No, so he worked under Edelman at the Savoy.
Oh, okay. When he moved, okay.
So, and so we would hear about the Savoy. It was a bit like a sort of prisoner of war camp. You'd go in when it was dark in the morning and you'd leave when it was dark, double shifts.
Yeah.
It was proper
Is that what it was like when you went to the
hardcore.
Grosvenor or not?
No, not at all.
Really?
Yeah, we would do sort of straight shifts couple of double shifts. And the Dorchester was even better. You know, we used to have 4-day weekends off.
What?
So of course we'd party, you know, for the
Yeah.
4 days, and we'd do like, I think we used to do like 3 double shifts and then have a 4-day weekend off. I mean, you couldn't do that these days. It's unheard of, but it was good fun because you know it really balanced up. Yeah, and it wasn't busy like restaurants are these days.
No.
You know, we'd be in the pub by 11 o'clock.
Oh, come on.
But was that Anton Musselman, right?
Yeah,
Cuisine Naturelle. I mean,
Cuisine
it's the
Naturelle.
first hotel which got 2 stars outside France.
yeah. Well, we worked.
What was the food like? What was the work like?
Well, you know, so we worked in the grill room, which was English, and we were allowed to do the menus ourselves, you know, between all the chefs and the sous chefs. So that was when I started researching British food.
Right.
And, you know, all the sort of classic dishes, we learned how to make I know also Bucco's not, but, you know, it was like proper braises and proper Irish stew with neck of lamb on the bone and all that sort of stuff. And we would, it was great because, you know, all those really classic methods were sort of driven into you.
Was that the first? Because it sounds like you were obviously all right at it. You were getting these jobs.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it was quite a lot about the time off and the partying, as it should be.
Well, it was, yeah.
Was that a
well.
turning point where you were like, well, hold on. This is quite fascinating. There's a whole world here.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think having that balance between work and going out and partying and meeting other people. Because, you know, the hospitality business is, you know,
About
social.
people.
Yeah. But then there was the terrace restaurant. So unless you were French, German or Swiss, you didn't get a job in the terrace. Because that was the 2-star Michelin
Really?
restaurant. There was one English guy in there who later became Mosman's head chef at the club.
Right.
And but we, you know, when it was only open in the evenings, wasn't ever open lunchtime. So we used to go up there and open the drawers in the kitchen and sort of look at their prep and little tiny mini turned carrots and all that sort of stuff. You know, and occasionally we'd sort of help ourselves to the prep.
Did you never got up to cook in the terrace then?
No,
You weren't allowed.
No, we weren't allowed anyone near it.
But you did go on to be sous chef at the Candlewick Room. You were only, what was it, 22 years old when they made you head chef? Because 8 months later, the person who took you, who was your sous, fucks off. You become head.
Yeah.
How tough was that, becoming head chef at 22?
Yeah, so that was really tough because so the head chef, his name was Dieter, worked in the terrace at Dorchester, and then he phoned me up and said, look, you know, I've got a space for sous chef. So I went in there, and it was a little kitchen, the Candlewick restaurant, and then after 6 months he said, I'm leaving. So I said to the owner, you know, I was 22 or whatever, I said, can I have his job? So he said, yeah, of course you can. Why not? So I did it, and I was, the type of food I was cooking, which I get slightly embarrassed about now, was a bit of a hangover of, you know, somewhere between the grill room at the Dorchester and the terrace.
Yeah.
You know, sort of trying to make things look a bit fancy on the plate. Obviously, still flavour. And then I did it for like 4 years, and then
Really?
I applied for the job at the Caprice via my fishmonger, Tony Allen. I never heard of the Caprice. I didn't have a clue where it was. Didn't know what it's all about.
Well, and he tipped you off about it.
Yeah. And then Chris and Jeremy came into the restaurant a couple of times, and I had about 4 interviews with them, like the toughest interviews you can imagine.
Yeah.
But what did it for me was 2 weeks in a row. I used to go to Alistair Little's in Soho for inspiration.
Yeah.
And there's one night, Jeremy saw me drinking after hours with Alistair downstairs because he would talk about food non-stop. It'd take hours. You know, we'd get more pissed and more pissed. Then the following week, Chris saw me also downstairs talking to Alistair. And
So, like,
that's what got me the job.
obsessed.
Yeah, that's what got me the job.
By the end of your head chef time there, as in before you joined the Caprice, what had your food like moved? Were you being influenced by these other characters, or was it still the same?
You know, I was trying to be a bit clever without really knowing, because I was young. You know, I was so young. I was trying to be a bit clever with the presentation because I could see what other people were doing and the sort of stuff they did in the terrace. And I sort of moved away from the stuff we were doing in the grill room.
Yeah.
And started doing, you know, stupid dishes, really. But got a good reputation. I mean, we got a red M in the Michelin Guide, which I don't think that exists anymore.
No.
There was only like 2, I think Turner's in South Ken and me, we got red M's.
Yeah, right.
It didn't really mean much
No, but
Timmy, but it was kind of.
I mean, nice.
A little,
Yeah.
But when you got the job, I mean, how magical a period was that? Because the people who were eating in that restaurant were incredible. You must have cooked some amazing. Any standout?
At the Caprice.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Caprice, yeah. So the restaurant was a who's who, if you know who they are. A lot of people from Condé Nast, which was just up the road. Dylan Jones would come in, always on the same table. Leslie Waddington, art dealer, would be in the table in the corner always. Jeffrey Archer, they had a punch up one day almost.
Really?
About, because they all think it's their table. And then, of course, Princess Di comes in and she wants to have that table as it's most discreet.
So Jeremy had to hit her.
Yeah.
And there was, and Chris and Jeremy tell me some funny stories about, because in the beginning when they opened the Caprice, it was a bit like me at the Rivington. They had to phone people
half
like
empty,
Mick
yeah,
Jagger and whatever
Yeah.
that used to be at Langhams Brasserie and sort of do a bit of a renter crowd. And there was one day where it was Omar Sharif and on one table with his girlfriend and hit me with your rhythm stick.
Who we got?
Injury.
Enjoy on the next table. And
That was very good. Very
Thank
good.
you.
it was.
Thank you.
I had a blank for a moment then. And I think Ian Jury was eyeing up Omar Sharif's girlfriend or whatever at the time. And there was a bit of a fisticuffs because
Really?
Omar Sharif saw what was going on. But there's lots of stories like that.
Well, go on, give us a
Jeremy's-
couple
I wish there were more fisticuffs
Come on.
in
But
restaurants.
Jeremy would tell you one story, then I'll be in the Groucho, and Peter Blake, who was also sitting on a table in the restaurant at the same time, tells a story sort of slightly different.
Yeah, right.
It was Jeremy punching people.
Yeah. Do you think the camera phone has been the death of like people having a good time like that?
Yeah.
Because you
I
can't
think
sort of
so.
go out and get loose like that anymore
No,
because
no.
it'll be all over
Yeah.
someone's
Daily Mail.
Instagram or
There was a day when Richard Young, when he was a pap,
yeah.
he got chased up Arlington Street by Jeremy because he was outside.
Really?
Yeah. And of course, when Princess Di came in, there was one particular. So, do you remember at the Caprice, there was the in to the underground car park,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah.
out that way.
Yeah.
So we had a situation once where she was on table 7, which was the one where Jeffrey Archer wanted to be and Leslie Waddington.
Fuck off, Jeffrey.
And then there was some paparazzi starting to form outside, like maybe 6 or 8 of them. So and then she left the restaurant via the kitchen, and I got the kitchen porters to go to the out entrance with hose pipes because they were expecting her to leave from the out entrance. So whilst the paparazzi were waiting for them, she came out of the in entrance and whizzed up Arlington Street. So we completely got them.
That's brilliant.
What a time.
They then asked you to sort of relaunch the Ivy with them. I mean, when we spoke to Chris Galvin recently, he said that when he went to the Wolsey, they took him on all these trips around Europe and, they spared no expense in trying to sort of taste everything they could to get inspiration.
Yeah.
What was the process of you guys putting your menu together? And
Good question. I didn't do the Ivy from day one. There was a chef there that was at the Caprice that went to the Ivy, didn't really work out. And then Chris and Jeremy said, "Oh, would you mind looking after the?" And at this point, I was only like 27 or 28.
Yeah.
So I said, "Yeah." And the Caprice was a beast at the time, but the Ivy was it was a 100-cover restaurant.
Yeah.
And we do 100 people before 7 o'clock pre-theatre, and then 100 people post-theatre,
Wow.
plus the ones in the middle. So I do it anyway and sort of develop the menu because it was a big menu and sort of based on, a little bit about what I knew and eating out at places like Alistair Little's, getting a bit of influence from other people, but, keeping it very, very simple, nothing fancy on there. We used to do Thai baked sea bass that was a banana leaf. I'd only ever eaten at about 2 Thai restaurants, but I knew that it had lemongrass, galangal, coriander, chili in it. So I just sort of whizzed up this paste, spread it on the sea bass, wrapped it in a banana leaf. And then when you put it on the plate, we just tear the banana leaf slightly and serve it with some rice on the side.
Beautiful.
But that was a really popular dish.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a first clue about Thai cooking. All I knew was what some of the Thai ingredients that went in it. And then we'd have steak tartare, we'd have eggs Benedict. There'll be a pasta and risotto section. There'd be simple shepherd's pie, which was throughout the year, 12 months of the year, that was the most popular dish.
Really?
Well, why was it so popular? Just because it's comfort?
Yeah, well, the old
Yeah, fork.
Eat it with your fork.
doing business. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of ketchup in the sauce, or not?
Well, so what we used to do, we used to get a shed load of shallots, saute the minced lamb and beef off, loads of shallots, and put port and red wine and reduce it, and then mix it with the minced beef and a bit of jus.
Oh.
You know, reduce it down so it's really quite tight, and then we used to put it in a ring like this, pipe the potato on top,
Yeah.
and then that would go in the oven. That would go on the plate, didn't collapse, and just put the sort of strained sauce around it. So it was a really nice, sort of intense
Yeah.
shepherd's pie.
Delicious.
No peas in it, obviously.
No.
And there was dishes like that. So people, wouldn't think twice about spending 80 quid on a bottle of wine, which was quite a lot back then,
Yeah.
and having a shepherd's
Have
pie.
a shepherd's pie with it.
And we had fish and chips on the menu. We'd have, and then I'd have, things like lamb's brains on toast, various wild mushrooms, black and white truffles, all sorts of stuff, really. Bang Bang chicken was something that
Bang Bang chicken.
came from the...
I tried to make that for Jeremy.
You did.
I
You're
don't
too
think he
scared to
touched
give it to him.
I was too scared to give it to him.
That's got ketchup in, doesn't it? I know I keep saying ketchup like I've got Tourette's, but
It's got peanut. Has it got peanut butter? in
Peanut
it?
butter.
Yeah, peanut butter.
Sweet soy sauce,
Sweet soy sauce.
peanut butter, a bit of oil.
Yeah. It was delicious. I took it home and
No, it was.
absolutely annihilated
It's a great dish, and it just came from a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah. and serves.
Is that right?
The nation's cuisine had already risen from a sort of gastronomic wasteland of dodgy prawn cocktails. It was down to the likes of Sean Hill, Rick Stein, Fergus Henderson, Jeremy Lee, yourself. Did it feel like a really exciting time to be in food?
It was because England then still had that terrible reputation
Yeah.
in the outside world. I remember going to Baltimore with Charles Campion on a sort of it was a kind of journalist, because I'd started writing about food by then a bit as well,
Yeah.
for The Independent. And I went with Charles Campion to Baltimore, and we were doing a talk. And it was obviously full of Americans, and there was a couple of people said, "Oh, tell us about the food in England, obvious stuff, fish and chips and all that. Can you tell us about the gastropub?" So, of course, Charles invented the name gastropub.
Is that right? Yeah.
So he reviewed the you have to edit this bit nicely.
Eagle?
The Eagle.
Was that? Yeah.
So he edited the Eagle.
Yeah.
Edited the Eagle.
Reviewed
the Eagle.
Yeah.
And when David Eyre was cooking there and he named it a gastropub.
Right.
And that name stuck.
Yeah.
So I was lucky to be on stage with Charles talking about English food and all that sort of stuff. And Charles had a mind of information. Yeah, he knew when the first Indian restaurant opened in London and the name of the person that owned it and
Unbelievable.
all sorts of stuff. So I was lucky enough that Charles was able to bang on for about 15 minutes about the gastropub that he invented the word of.
Unbelievable. How did the whole? Because you're an extraordinary writer about food. Did that come naturally? And how did that come about? The whole.
I think the food. I mean, I think loads of people that don't write are very, like Jeremy King, for example.
Yeah.
Would be a great writer, but he never really writes. He writes newsletters.
Yeah.
But I always said to him, "Why haven't you written a book?" Obviously now
He
It has.
Yeah.
he's published a book.
No reservation.
Yeah.
No, what's it called?
Yeah.
I'll just buy it. Google it.
Yeah.
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 But so I sort of wanted to write about stuff, and luckily, then I got a phone call from the Independent. Simon Hopkinson had given up his column after 14 years,
Yeah.
and I took over,
Quite an honour.
and that was the big break for me writing wise,
Yeah.
and the. And based on what Hoppy had written, because his food was obviously very simple as well, and I ended up doing that for another 14 years.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, no, it was great. And the editor at the time of the Independent, Simon Kellner, used to come to the Ivy all the time, and we used to hang out in the Groucho Club, and
I bet you did. I fucking bet you did. What influence?
It's another story.
Yeah. What influence have Corbyn and King had on your career then? And what makes them so successful? I mean, or what made them, or makes them?
Well, they are, customer facing. So Chris and Jeremy, when they opened the Ivy and the Caprice, they both got Vespa scooters.
Really?
Right, so that if they knew that someone was coming in at 8:30 at the Ivy. There were some customers they knew, regulars at the Caprice. So they'd jump outside, get on their Vespa.
They whiz
and go.
across.
So and then I got a Vespa as well. So sort of to do similar-ish. To whiz around on. And it was quite clever because, they would pretend that they were in the restaurant for the whole evening.
That is genius.
In both restaurants.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah.
And then also...
Because if you corroborated the stories of everyone who's dining on a night in London and seeing them, it's like they can't be everywhere that
then
they are.
Also
But
quite
that
a
was the
funny
trick.
thing that Jeremy probably wouldn't admit to, but, Jeremy obviously loves talking, Jeremy's very tall, and he loves talking to the customers, obviously. But if he was too long at a table, the reception would say, Jeremy, there's a phone call for you. So
You need that sometimes.
because the customers, who we all sort of knew, they would sort of wink.
Yeah.
But he probably didn't talk about that.
No.
They did. Funny enough, Mark, he didn't mention that. No.
A lot of people have mentioned there how they get more out of their staff than anyone else. Like, were there any tricks you picked up, or like, what do they do to get that level of?
Well, it wasn't until my own restaurants when we did Challenge Hix. Probably that was a good way to do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the front of house staff would come in as well and watch what was going on.
Really?
And sometimes get involved.
Yeah.
But we're faced with a completely different set of staff now than what post lockdown. They become Amazon drivers and
Yeah.
all sorts.
eBay obsessives like you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, eBay. Good old eBay.
What do you think of the restaurants then since Richard Kering's taken over? I mean, we asked Jeremy.
He shouldn't really say that name in there, really.
Well, no, he nearly sort of had a heart attack. He was appalled. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. When we had when Jeremy and Chris had the Caprice and then did the Ivy, and they would always say that that's it, never open any more restaurants.
Really?
And then Luke Johnson bought it, and just when they'd done J Sheekey, which was a classic, famous fish restaurant, and they just got to the point of opening it, and then sold. But what was the question?
It was about that.
About Richard Kering.
Oh, Richard Kering, yeah. God.
Thoughts of what he's done with the place now?
Okay. Well, do you know, I'd take my hat off to him for using. I mean, this is why Jeremy was probably like, clenching his fists under the table.
Yeah.
But I would sort of take my hat off a little bit using something like a brand, a name like the Ivy, and turning it into a national brand.
Yeah.
But it would take, that isn't something that a restaurateur like Chris and Jeremy would have done.
No.
That's a businessman that's come in from the outside that's seen the name. This is, his mates will say, "Oh, you should do an Ivy in, down the road in Chelsea, and you should do one in Bristol and Bath and everywhere." So I think that's what he's done, and I think he's going to do similar with the Caprice. I think.
Is he?
But I don't think Caprice and the Ivy all over the place, because some of the dishes on the Ivy. Whatever they called it.
What is Ivy Grills, whatever they're called, yeah.
There's some of the same dishes, but, talking about the frozen berries with the hot white chocolate sauce, people send me photographs when they're eating in one of those places.
Really?
They say, "Mark, you never used to do it like this," because, it would just be the berries and the hot white chocolate sauce, and there's balls of sorbet in the middle, flowers on it, all sorts of shit, like that.
It's quite mad.
Yeah.
What he does with those places.
Seems quite a lot of cooking there's bain-maries though in sort of microwaves, isn't it? No.
Yeah, I think so it's obviously when they've got so many. I think there's a factory somewhere in North London probably that they.
It's like McDonald's.
Do all this, yeah.
Sad to see.
I mean, but I think the quality for that, because you remember the Café Rouges and those sort of places.
Yeah.
They weren't particularly good quality. They're okay, but I think probably Ivy.
A bit better.
Yeah, it's probably okay.
Sort of all right.
Well, after 17 years working with those two, you then decided to go it alone. Hix Oyster and Chop House 2007 Smith. But how tough was it launching your first restaurant and then your empire?
Yeah.
Or was it pretty easy?
Well, it was a risk. I never gamble. I wasn't slot machines when I was a kid. Never go to the bookies, or if I go to the races, I might chuck some money on. But for some reason, when you've got a restaurant, and then someone says to me, "Oh, have you seen that site in Soho?" You go and have a look, and you you know, when it's like a chunk of money, like £300,000, which you haven't really got, you know, the bank have got it, but you haven't. You thought, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. So you're actually gambling the bank's money, which potentially is your money.
Become because you went very quickly from opening the first one to then you had sort of 6 or 7.
Almost a
you said you
restaurant
didn't have backers.
Yeah.
Was it just an addiction to like kind of?
Yeah, it was a bit. Yeah.
Finding a site that
Yeah, it was like eBay.
Again. Yeah, like eBay.
eBay for restaurants.
Yeah.
So were you like partying? Because come on, you became one of the most well-known chefs in the country and in the sort of European continent. You like that could not have gone to your head. You must have had some great parties, some great nights, some great fun.
Yeah, I sort of liked having a good time. You know, lots of my friends would work long shifts in kitchens, and it's funny because Adrian Gill in this magazine that I found at the bottom of a box the other day, I opened it and I'd completely forgotten about it, and he was kind of saying that I was so laid back and I had so many well-known friends that would fill the O2 or something. It was like funny.
But do you think should there be more of that? Everyone's people can get very po-faced and quite serious about how you've got to grind. It seemed like you were having a good time.
Yeah, you do your time in the kitchens of the Dorchester and the Grosvenor and the Caprice of the Ivy back in the day. And then I suppose when you do your own places, I had to make a decision. Right, am I going to be in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Or am I going to do front of house and a bit of both? And I was lucky that I had a really great head chef at the Oyster and Chop House, Stuart, who's now running the Gunton Arms in Norfolk, for a friend of mine, Ivor Bracker, who's an art dealer. It all sort of comes around and goes around. And, he was great. And he was able, if I said, right, we're going to do, all the meat's going to be on the bone, except for the hanger steak, but we're going to serve a piece of bone marrow on the side that's stuffed. And he would execute it, so well.
Know what you meant.
Yeah. Because it's quite rare that you get a chef that has, understands what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I felt really quite comfortable. So I was able to be upstairs in the restaurant.
Yeah.
To the point when I would answer the phone sometimes. And there was one particular night, early days, this voice on the phone, which I recognised. It was Nicola Formby. And she said, "Oh, do you have a table for 8?" I said, "We haven't really got an 8, but I've got a table for 6, Nicola, that we could squeeze 8 people onto." And then she realised it was me.
Yeah.
So, of course, they come in with...
Nicola Formby being A.A. Good, Adrian's wife.
Yeah. So they came in with... sorry, I have to edit this. What's the name? The Indian... Indian restaurateur. She's...
Madam Jaffrey.
No.
I don't know.
They had the... Not the Redford. Bloody hell.
Come on, Jay.
Bring up
Camilla Punjab. Yeah.
Don't know.
I think Camilla Punjab.
Camilla Punjab?
Yeah.
Get your keyboard up, Jamie.
I say it's Camilla Punjab. Anyway, so Adrian comes in with Camilla Punjab and a couple other people. I can't remember who they were. Anyway, there's 8 of them. And I had a mutton chop curry, which became a classic.
Yeah.
So Camilla says to me, like she was sitting on the other end, she said, "Mark, outside, that's the best curry I've had outside of an Indian restaurant."
Come on.
And I sort of moved around the table, pulled a chair up, and Adrian said, he said, "I didn't really think much of that curry." I went, "Okay." Anyway, so when he writes the piece, he then says what she said.
Really?
It's the best curry he's had outside of an Indian restaurant.
He's a bit of a salamander. What was your favourite restaurant of yours? Come on, I'm going to have to push you for one.
Okay.
What, favourite child?
Yeah.
As in the restaurants? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the Oyster and Chop House. I used to love going to eat at the bar in the Oyster and Chop House, whether it's on my own or with someone. I used to always sit at the bottom end, on the corner. And, yeah, I think out of all of them, I prefer, obviously in Dorset, because I lived in Dorset and London, the Oyster and Fish House, because it had a great view, very simple seafood. So I think, they were my first 2 restaurants, really. Yeah. So if someone said, well, yes, the Oyster and Chop House and
that
the Oyster and Fish House, I think.
Well, come on, Oyster and Fish House, 2009. It's where Keith Floyd had his last meal.
He did.
Did a controversy when you put that. Just tell us the story for those who don't know.
Okay. So I was doing a kitchen table at home. So Mark's kitchen table is, I have 8 people at home and I'm on my island and I'm cooking. I do sort of 6 courses.
Yeah.
And you can book it as a whole party or individual places or whatever. And the Keith Lloyd was in for lunch, but I had a kitchen table. Anyway, he said to me, "Oh, pop along and join us if you can." And I wasn't able to because I still had guests. Anyway, so he had some partridge and he had some grouse. They got it all mixed up, so he ended up with a partridge, and his producer had the grouse. Anyway, he wrote me this lovely letter that said he had a great time. Please come to my autobiography whenever that was in a few weeks' time. Anyway, he went home. He'd been to the doctor in the morning and got cleared of something, I can't remember.
Yeah, bowel cancer.
Yeah.
And anyway, he went home, watched himself being interviewed by Keith Allen, Keith on Keith.
Yeah.
And
hell of a show.
Got dead. Yeah. So, of course, the press got hold of it. They knew he'd been to my place for lunch, had a few bottles of wine. So another daily spread, double-page spread in the Daily Mail.
What, Hix murdered
Yeah.
Floyd?
But then you put his last meal on as a...
Yeah, I did, yeah. I put those dishes on. I kept them on. I put a little box on the menu. Floyd's Last Supper. Yeah.
Remember what? I mean,
I'll tell you what he had.
You'll know what it was.
He had
Freddie?
champagne with with cherry soaked in apple eau de vie, glass of white wine, a burgundy. Then he had oysters with potted shrimp and toast. Then a bottle of red wine, which was a Cote d'Aron 2007. Then he had red leg partridge with bread sauce, but he actually got the grouse.
Yes.
And then he had a pear cider made into jelly and 7 cigarettes.
Is that right?
Yeah, did you offer the cigarettes on the menu?
Yeah, you get the cigarettes at the end.
Yeah.
Well, he probably took them off one of the members of the
Yeah,
staff.
yeah.
I mean,
That's a good lunch.
you've had an incredible career, just unbelievable. But do you ever sit there now and go like, I wish I did that? Any obvious regrets which still float around in your cerebellum?
Yeah, I often regret sort of moving a bit too fast, getting new restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I sort of think about it and think, well, lots of other people do it.
Must have been fun, though. The buzz of it all.
It was,
Wasn't it?
Because every time you open a new restaurant, that is your favourite out of all of them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way it is, because I always designed the interior of my restaurants.
Really?
Yeah.
Hence why I was,
The mezzanine.
a bit of a eBay
Yeah.
addiction. So there would always be, from day one, I always did silver cutlery, silver vegetable dishes, unusual things like asparagus dishes from the Savoy.
Yeah.
Because my dad took me to this pub in Bridport called the George. Had an open kitchen. The chef landlord was called John, and he cooked. And I remember going in there and eating mutton and turnip pie with silver cutlery and silver veg dishes. And that sort of stayed in my head.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to do that, silver.
Mm.
And sometimes it would be odd silver, which I know everyone does that now. But I just, that memory stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
And the mutton and turnip pie and, all that stuff.
It must be quite incredible nowadays to see how British food is being celebrated even more than ever, and British produce. I mean, when you were working 30 years ago, it was still Italian, French stuff being imported.
Yeah,
whereas
it
now
come
you
in
can,
French boxes.
whereas now you can actually you can run a restaurant off British.
Yeah. Well, that's why I enjoyed writing British regional, because I was, seeking out, producers all over the country.
Yeah.
Which I then showcased on the menu, name-checked them on the menu, and that became a great, respect kind of platform.
Yeah.
To say, Reg Johnson's, free-range goose-nard chicken, blah, 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 whatever. And it didn't quite go into 3 lines, but it was normally a one-liner.
Yeah.
You showed some restraint.
Yeah.
But I mean, a man who's been so successful across all mediums, we get a lot of people in hospitality listening to this podcast. What's your advice to a restaurateur or someone in hospitality?
Don't do it.
Do not do it.
Fair play.
No, because, people, kids these days think that they can, open a restaurant, run a restaurant. I've done MasterChef, so I can open a restaurant successfully. But no, it's not like that.
No.
It's tough.
So stay away.
You have to go. I was never an apprentice.
No.
But you more or less need to, go through the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
I mean, when I worked at the Grosvenor House in the Dorchester, I had to get, I worked part-time on the HMS Belfast and part-time at the French Embassy
Wow.
to earn money that we can go out drinking.
Yeah.
We used to go to Samantha's nightclub and the Beetroot because they used to do a hospitality night where you get a gin and tonic for like 25p.
Beautiful.
And then we walked back to South Kensington where we lived
Yeah.
because we couldn't afford to get a bus or a taxi. There's no buses, actually.
Simpler times, though. 25p gin and tonic and living in
Quite a
South
long time
Kent.
ago, though.
Yeah. No, I know.
That's incredible.
Quite a life, though.
Yeah.
We're going to finish off with your go-to locations, but quickly, in the little section, winner stays on of chefs.
Oh, well,
we're going to read out some chefs,
Yeah.
and you're going to say the one that stays on, right? So starting with Edelman versus Mosserman. It's meant to be quick fire here.
Okay, sorry. Is this like the easiest questions on there?
No.
I would say Edelman.
Yeah.
Okay, Edelman versus Marco.
Marco.
Marco versus Gordon.
Marco.
Marco versus Heston.
Marco.
Marco versus Marcus Waring.
Marco.
Marco versus Carriage.
Marco.
Marco versus Jason Atherton.
Marco.
Marco versus Michel Roux Jr.
Marco.
Marco versus Michel Roux Sr.
Marco.
Marco versus Raymond Blanc.
Marco.
Marco versus Alain Roux.
Marco.
And then Marco versus Rick Stein.
Marco.
Beautiful. That was
But the reason I say that,
that was
To the
beautiful.
wolves.
Yeah.
I remember. So when I was working at the Caprice, Marco was trying to poach me to work at the canteen, Chelsea Harbour.
Yeah.
So I'd be there. The phone would go. You know, I was slicing calf's liver. The phone was underneath, in my, like this. And I was slicing liver, and Marco would put on a bit of an accent.
Yeah.
You know, I said, Marco, you phone me every single day. Shall I come and see you? Mr. Hicks, why don't you come and see me at Harvey's? So there's no way I was ever going to work for him, and he knew that.
Yeah.
But he likes sort of,
The chase.
yeah, he likes the chase. Anyway, so I'd go over to Harvey's. And actually, there was one night I went with Tony Allen, the fishmonger that got me the job, or told me about the job. So there we are at Harvey's. We're eating the tagliatelle, the cucumber tagliatelle with oysters and
oyster,
caviar
yeah.
in the window of the restaurant. I was still married at the time. And then we had this tap on the window. We looked, and it was Marco and his waders who'd been fishing with his dick out pissing against the window.
Just
So we moved from the conservatory bit to the restaurant. And Marco never drank. He smoked like a chimney.
Never drank?
Never drank back then. And then he'd come and sit with us, but he stank because he'd been fishing or shooting or something. And he's, you know, he won't mind me saying this.
No.
And anyway, so that was part of his thing, and he'd keep me there till 2 a.m. You know, trying to, you know, he'd make me these offers, you know, company car, 70 grand a year net, blah blah blah, but knowing very well that I was never really going to go and work for him.
Yeah, unbelievable. All with his cock out.
Yeah.
Were you ever tempted then?
But
That's
I
an amazing
remember-
offer.
I remember every single dish that I ate at Harvey's. You know, I remember the veal sweetbreads with the spinach puree and the Giraud mushrooms.
Yeah.
And all those dishes, like the little fish stew he did, and the desserts when Roger Pisey was there.
Yeah, Michel Roux said that his food was, when he had 2 stars, was the best at Harvey's. And then when he went to Oakram and it was 3, it wasn't
Yeah,
as good.
I think when he was just at Harvey's, that was the best. Because I think when he did the Oakram, he wasn't really in there cooking as much.
Yeah.
But he was great. You know, he was the sort of person that would take someone's dish like the pig's trotter and make it better.
Yeah.
You know, he took it off Pierre Kaufman, improved it somehow. It was fantastic.
Did you ever cook? I mean, I know he didn't convince you to work for him, but did you ever cook alongside him? You know, in the same kitchen?
No, never did, really.
No.
He'd probably stabbed me.
Yeah, probably.
You might have shown him up, Mark. You never know.
Right, Hicks, so you've been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. We're going to have to come down and do a part 2 with you.
Yeah.
Down, maybe at the... Do you still
Come to a kitchen table.
Yeah, do you still do a kitchen table?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely come down and do that.
Yeah, come to Mark's kitchen table.
Definitely.
And also, I'll tell you what I do, which might be even better. I do Hix and Wild. So
Yes.
you start at my house in the morning.
Yeah.
We forage about 10 ingredients from the hedge around my house, the hedgerow.
Nice.
Wow.
Then we go to the woods, and if it's in season, we pick mushrooms. Then we go to the seashore on the estuary, pick wild seashore vegetables.
Yeah.
Then I butcher a deer at lunchtime.
Oh.
And then people go for a little break, and they come back, and I do 6 courses with all the stuff that I've
That's amazing.
Wow.
foraged. Yeah.
Definitely
sounds
do
unbelievable.
Yeah, I have to do that. Let's finish the sort of a quick fiery go-to locations, though, starting with what is your go-to weeknight restaurant?
I go to a weeknight restaurant.
Yeah,
Well,
like nothing fancy,
well,
just...
yeah, no. Do you know what? These days, because I live in Dorset, the Chinese food and the Indian food is
Yeah.
well below average. So if I'm on the train coming to London,
Yeah.
in my head I've got
You're already plotting.
I know there's about 3 or 4 restaurants. There's the 8 on Shaftesbury Avenue, TPT in Chinatown.
TPT Cafe, very good.
Yeah, which is great. Shickham in Shepherd's Bush.
Yeah.
So my little 13-year-old daughter is my date. And she comes to those places and she eats crispy intestines, she eats chicken feet, she eats all that stuff. She loves it.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
So mainly it's kind of Asian restaurants that I do go to. But I always remember going to Scott's, which I opened with Isla. I'd been to Nicky Clark used to cut my hair, and quite often Stephen Webster and myself, we'd go to Nicky Clark. I'd get Nick Strangeway to make us some martinis. So he would come and serve us martinis whilst
Whilst you having your hair cut?
was cutting our hair, yeah. But I decided to take Isla, my little daughter, to Nicky Clark's one day. So she had a haircut, I had a haircut. Then I took her to Scott's. So we were sat at the bar in Scott's, and there was an old boy on the left, and Isla had ordered octopus carpaccio, langoustines, and all this sort of stuff. And you know, she's really, really adventurous. You know, this is about 4 years ago. And anyway, so the waiter came and with the langoustines and the octopus carpaccio, and he went to put it down next to the guy. And she looked up and she said, I think that's mine. You know.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
But she's my favourite dinner date.
Yeah. Sounds like an
Because
adventure.
you know, it's quite, you know, it's really quite satisfying when your little daughter of 8, 9, 10, 11, or 13 eats the same as you do.
Yeah, what a treat.
And it's only when they start getting influenced by other kids at school that they start getting a little bit fussy.
Is she allowed a little glass of wine?
No, she's not been on the vino yet.
No, we'll get her on it.
Yeah.
Come on then, Benny.
Okay, what's your celebratory supper? You going for a blowout? Where are we heading?
A blowout?
Yeah.
God,
Something big to celebrate.
Do you know, I'm really bad at... I sort of know where I would go, but quite often there are individual dishes in restaurants that I would say, I'd go there and have a starter, then I'd move along and have
Well, come on, give us
on
that.
then.
All right.
Sounds like a good way to spend the evening. Yeah.
No, I would say, St John is there, but everyone says it's St John. So I would probably go for J Sheekey, which I also opened. I would go there and have fruit de mer, because the fruit de mer is great.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
And it's fresh as can be, and I prefer to sit at the bar than anywhere else. And then if I want a bit of offal, I might then leave it at the fruit de mer and then go to one of the Chineses that I mentioned for a bit of offal.
Nice.
Yeah.
My favourite long lunch, wherever that might be, used to quite often end at 3 a.m. in a Chinese restaurant.
Well,
that was always a sign of a good lunch.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Ending up in a Chinese after the Groucho.
You've done that right.
And then going to, obviously got in terrible trouble with my exes. And,
Wow.
Yeah, well, these things happen.
No one's
don't they?
perfect. No one's perfect.
What about your dream long weekend getaway? I know we kept you for far too long. Your friends probably thinking, where are you? But your dream long weekend getaway, you're going for a foodie weekend. Where are you going? Anywhere in the world?
Well, we are actually on Tuesday. I'm going to Tuscany with Mitch Tonks, Robin Hudson.
You spend more time with Tonks than anyone.
I know, yeah.
God.
Robin Hudson's getting jealous.
Yeah.
Robin Hudson's wife said to him once, she said, why have you got more photographs of Mark on your phone than you have me?
That way he's a hell of a fisherman.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to
where are you going?
To Tuscany, and David's kind of got this list of restaurants and winemakers we're going to go and see over the over sort of a short 2-day trip.
Wow. Beautiful.
And that's what I find quite exciting. I mean, Mitch travels a lot.
Yeah.
I remember once we used to do this truffle trip. And there's a friend of ours, Tim McLaughlin Green, and then it would be a coach. So Fergus and Trevor would be on there sometimes, Bob Granley's, The Guardian would be there, Mitch, myself, some of the chefs that worked in the restaurant.
Hell of a coach trip, that.
And my favourite one, and I can't remember the name of the restaurant now, so we pull up, and we were in Alba, Truffle Country.
Yeah.
And we turn up at this petrol station. I thought they were putting some fuel in the coach. Yeah. And then we got out of the coach, and then we went round the back of the petrol station. And there was a restaurant attached to the petrol station. You go in, and there's silver trolleys with Bolito Misto. All the waiters have got white tunics on.
Wow.
Fantastic, yeah. I
can't
wish
remember
I
the name of it.
remembered the name of it, but
Yeah, we'll have to
we're going to
find the name.
Google it.
We'll
yeah.
get it on Google. That sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, really, really good. And, I find those restaurants really exciting than places that everyone sort of knows about.
No, yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Harder and harder to find that.
That's why I like to discover the off the beaten track Chineses. Oh, and dim sum duck is great.
Dim sum.
Well, Hixie, you've been
If you don't mind
incredible.
queuing.
You've been absolutely incredible. We need to come down. We'll do a wild foraging trip.
Yeah,
Ben,
yeah.
do you want to finish this off?
What, with the go-to 3-course meal? Can you tell us your go-to 3-course meal, Mark?
Oh, sorry.
The well, have me another piece of beetroot as well. But
The beetroot's very good, as is the pie.
That's good.
Pie's a bit too fishy for my liking, but it's good.
You're not a mackerel man. You
No, I'm
told me that
not.
on the way
I'm
in.
not.
The greatest 3 courses you could
Okay.
ever put together.
I would have probably lamb's brains on toast.
Beautiful.
Simple, pan-fried, crispy, capers on top.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I might then go in. I'm a huge offal fan, and I may have something like a big sharing steak,
Yeah.
for the table, or I would. I wouldn't even, I wouldn't mind eating offal again for the main course.
Yeah.
A big lump of veal kidneys or
Oh,
a big lump of veal sweetbreads or something like that.
beautiful.
Followed by something really quite simple that's chocolatey,
Yeah.
chocolate mousse.
Some sort of chocolate mousse. Have you been to
I stole Fergus's chocolate mousse recipe about 20 years ago.
Did you?
Never
Did
gave it back.
Did it
The great
realize?
thing with Fergus is, because most people think that chocolate mousse has got cream in it.
Yeah.
And it hasn't. So it's just basically egg whites,
Yeah.
melted chocolate, a tiny bit of sugar.
Yeah.
So the better the chocolate, you want, you want that to go into the mousse for the flavour.
Yeah.
Egg yolks from the whites, a bit of sugar, and then that just folded together very
Whip
gently.
the wipes up, fold it in.
Yeah. That's the
Absolutely
best.
Did Fergus know you'd nicked it?
Yeah, because I had to ask him for the recipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do this.
Well, Mark Hicks, you've been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for coming in.
Unbelievable.
You're an
Always a
absolute
pleasure.
legend.
Exactly.
We're going to come down in the early
Come
new
and
year.
keep my cellar dry.
Well, we're going to fucking do that. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to ask you the final question we ask everyone, which is, what song do you want us to play you out with? You can pick any song in the world, and
Any
you'll.
song in the world?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a tough question.
It is. Maybe we should limit it, because then people go like, oh, any song this year. Or... Come on, any song in the world, anything represents you, your journey, your success.
Brown Sugar, Rolling Stones.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well,
We'll be dancing.
Hixie, I hope you get back okay this evening. You're off to party more in Borough Market. You had a 3
No, I'm not partying. I'm just going to see my mate.
Well, you had a 3 a.m. last night.
Minders.
Come on. Well, you never know what they got in store for you. Hixie, thank you so much for coming in. You're a legend, and
It's a pleasure.
we'll see you in the new year.
Pleasure.
Unbelievable.
Thank you. That was
Thank you.
brilliant.